Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of the preview show brought to you by the Known and Never podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Bromley, and this week we are looking ahead to Burnley's visit to Coventry City. It's Frank Lampard's Coventry, as the entire world seems to call any team managed by Frank Lampard. How will the Clarets do? We've got just 7 games to go before the end of the season. The race for the automatic and the title is tighter than ever. We want to see how we think the Clarets will do on that push this weekend. We are joined, as ever, by the best view in football, James Statman-Roberts, and this week, our resident FPL expert and long-term contributor to the show, Adam Dennett. It's a joy to have him back. So, listeners, buckle up. Let's go. Dave, good evening. How are you?
I'm very well, Natalie. Yes, getting ready for the hectic running.
Indeed. And Adam, hello. How are you, sir?
Yeah, nice to be back on. So, I think probably been about 10 games since I've been on, but still undefeated. So I can't.
On, not 10 games. Don't underplay it. You've been skiving all season. Skiving, I tell you.
But we're still undefeated since the last time I've been on, so it's quite nice to keep that. Well, yeah, it's been.
November. Why have I brought you on? Disaster. This is an absolute disaster. What have I done? I've only gone and jinxed.
It's on you.
Oh, listeners, I'm so sorry. I can't even begin to tell you how sorry I am that we've done this. Well, oh, goodness me. Well, there we go. We can wrap up and go home, shall we? Nothing to see here. We're obviously going to lose. Never mind. David, you've got a great stat show lined up for us in terms of our visit to Coventry. But before we get to that, I want to merge today's show with a little bit of a look back to last weekend's game at home against Bristol City, a 1-0 win to the Clarets. Adam, I'm going to bring you in first here. Do you think it's fair to say that was perhaps the most one-sided game of football we've ever seen?
Yeah, we were brilliant. 1-0. If you'd told me before the game it were finishing 1-0 with a direct free kick as the deciding moment, I think I'd have been very worried, having spent a few days beforehand just having nightmares about a certain Scott Twine. But no, I think 1-0 and obviously a direct free kick to win it doesn't say anything about the performance. And obviously we've had tight games in terms of the result a lot this season, but this just wasn't one of them. Performance wise, you just couldn't fault it. First half we should have gone in 3-4-0 up if we'd have been anything like clinical. But I think the real positive sign is how many chances that we are now creating. We've scored a lot more goals in the last 7-8 games, and just looked a lot more threatening all around. So really, really positive day. Obviously we could have had the sucker punch right at the end, but thankfully that went straight into Trafford's arms. But yeah, really, really good. I went off the turf a happy man last Saturday.
Yeah, I went off very happy, even happier when I was walking up to my car and somebody was running around going, Norwich have scored. And I genuinely thought, you're a bit behind. Like, they ended up, people like, stop it. Like, they ended up winning, but whatever. We'll come on to that in a minute. What on earth was Luca doing in that final seconds, by the way, in that corner? Like, I swore at him, and I try not to swear at players, but I swore at him. What on earth, Adam?
Well, when it had been such a sharp performance all around, just one moment of lapse in concentration, really poor ball backwards, and it really could have cost us. But thankfully it didn't. So obviously I don't think we'll be relying on him too much towards the end of the season. But hopefully if the players in the team now carry on the form, then we won't need to. But yeah, like you said, it'd only been on a few minutes. Those sort of things can happen, so you don't want to put too much on him, especially when it didn't cost us. But yeah, we were definitely a moment to forget for him, but thankfully it didn't cost us anything at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I completely share your view, by the way, that the improved number of chances that we're creating as a team is definitely helping. I think the beginning of the season, we were very pedestrian, we were very defensive. Then we had this spell in the middle where we were going for this clean sheet record. And to me, I still believe the team was impacted on that. I still think we played it way too safe in that middle third. But we are now, it does feel like a little bit like the handbrake. It's not gone off, but it has been loosened slightly, and we are creating chances. But the problem that comes with that, Adam, of course, is that the more chances they create, the more of a really obvious, the lack of our class up front and the lack of our ruthlessness in front of goal, it becomes even more apparent when you're missing so many chances. We have got a real problem still at this stage of the season in having somebody who can put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, I think just to say, I think the signing of Marcus Edwards has made a massive difference. Even though I think he's only got 1 goal and 1 assist himself, I think the opposition know that we've got a player who can beat a man or create a piece of magic. And the more that they concentrate on defending against him, the more opportunities that the rest of the team are going to get and are getting. And I think that's made, obviously, the team have had a run of games together. They're clearly getting better and better as they go, as they gel through the season. But I think he's been the real game changer in terms of the whole team clicking going forward. So, yeah, real credit to everyone who got that one over the line. In terms of the chances missed, I think it was mainly one man on Saturday, and it's hard to fault Anthony's overall performance levels when
goodness me,
his energy levels are there. I thought it was
excellent. Again,
he was throwing in injury time that just killed the game. He was like, he can run all day, but you just want him to start finishing some of those chances. It is a problem, but I am less worried now that we are creating the chances that we will score one. And I think we had the opposite performance against Sheffield Wednesday, where we had 4 or 5 shots on target and scored all of them, and we weren't really that good that night. Whereas on Saturday, playing against a very good Bristol City side, played them off the park and were a worldly free kick. So I'm not as worried as I was earlier in the season in that regard, but I think we are where we are now. We're not, we can't do much about the personnel that's there, but it's just a positive that we are playing well and creating chances.
Yeah. And a big part of that for me as well, one player that certainly over the last 3 games for me has really improved and has really made me feel a lot more confident down the left side is Perez. I could have happily never seen him again play for us, but feels like with the forced change with Humphreys getting injured, we probably won't see him now till the end, till the season's finished. He's had 3 games. I mean, there was a couple of spells on Saturday where he just gave silly passes away. But on the whole, his play has dramatically improved. And actually a lot more of our chances are now coming down that left-hand side, whereas before we were kind of stuck on that side.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, it does worry me. It still worries me, but there's no doubt he's getting better by the game, which you'd expect with, I think he was in and out of the team at the start of the season, and then Humphreys got more of a run when he was obviously playing really well. And yeah, it still panics me, but yeah, definitely his best display in a Burnley shirt last weekend, and one of the shouts for man of the match. So there, hopefully that is a positive sign.
Steady on, come on. I know we're trying to be positive on here, but I think that's actually that's an interesting point to actually talk about man of the match. It's been a few games now where there hasn't been a really obvious pick for man of the match, and that to me is very indicative of it reminds me of the old Dyche days where we didn't really have a superstar. We had a very clear team where everybody played for everybody and everybody's on the same level, and you could come out of that game knowing that everybody put a shift in, and it feels very much like that solid team is there again. It's been weeks now. I mean, CJ and Steve are always in the top 2. Traff would probably be in there if he actually had anything to do in half the games that he did. I don't know how that I don't know how that man manages to keep his concentration levels for 90 minutes in some of these games when he literally has nothing to do. So, CJ and Steve are always up there. But other than that, you could literally pick from any 11. And I think that's a good sign, Adam.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. There's always, we do have star players, and we've got a good spine in the team with the 2 that you mentioned, and Cullen, Brownhill, and Fleming leading the line. I think you've got to mention him. I think it was his best display as well.
Yeah,
obviously he's been scoring some really important goals, but people have criticised him for his other contributions. But I thought he put himself about a lot better at the weekend. And like I say, yeah, there's no one on that pitch at the weekend that I could say had a bad game, which is a really positive sign for the last 7.
Yeah, definitely. Dave, conscious of not just not excluding you, it's not relying on you just for stats, because you have an opinion as well. It felt to me at the weekend that this was a team that was prepared to dig deep and do what was necessary to get them over the line. You know, it shouldn't have been as nervous as it was in the last 10 minutes. We certainly shouldn't have been literally screaming in the last dying seconds of the game. But that, coupled with that team mentality, it feels to me like there's an attitude and there's a professionalism about this side that Scott Parker's brought back in that may very well be sufficient.
Yeah, there's a resilience there. I think that's probably the word I would use, and it's kind of going back to the old relentless mentality, and they just seem to have that ability to keep going, getting us over the line. And we've said about drawing too many games, but if you look back now, I think it's been like 6 wins out of the last 8 and two draws. So we're improving on that side of it as well. We're converting more of those to victories, and we know we've got 7 games to go. It's going to be it's fairly intense, isn't it? 7 in 29 days. We've got the Easter period in there. We've got Friday, Monday. We've got coming up. We've got Saturday, Tuesday, Friday. So it's like 3 in a week there. So it's really, really intense for the last few games. But you just feel like we've got a manager and a squad who are capable of dealing with that. They just seem to be taking things in the stride. We've got that solidity at the back. We've got the ability now to score goals. We only scored 1 on Saturday, but we are scoring goals a little bit more freely than we were. I think you may be being slightly too harsh. If you look back at the season in terms of the chances we've created, we haven't created enough chances, but in terms of what we have converted from what we've created, it's been around about average, is what you would expect.
Oh, really?
Whereas
That's
interesting. But on the side, in terms of defence, it's something like plus 20, minus 20. We've expected to concede in terms of what we had. It's been unbelievable from a defensive perspective.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'd be keen to maybe, if we've got time in one of the 45 million preview shows that we've got coming up. Dave, I really fear for our preview show schedule over the next 2 weeks, by the way, just FYI. Oh gosh, well, we're going to get these all fitted in. But yeah, it'd be interesting to drill down on that a little bit, because I bet some of our listeners would be really keen to see, because there's a perception, isn't there, Adam? There's a perception of how you see a game as a fan, and then there's a reality of like statisticians like Dave who and Optastats and things like that who come out and say, well, actually, you know, you've maybe seen that with claret blue tinted. I mean, and often we can apply too much of a fan lens on this, I think.
There's definitely the eye test versus the stats that you're always going to have with football. It feels like my dad every week comes off saying bloody Brownhill, and I see like there were a tweet today. I think Brownhill's overperformed his XG by more than anyone else in the whole division. So I think he scored 13 goals from an XG of 7.5, which is basically Burnley's overperformance. I think I will look at Dave's stats page. Obviously, we mentioned it a few times. That's got me. I always delve into all sorts of bits, and I think we're 53 goals from 46 XG. So again, like you say, it's more clinical than you'd probably expect. It just, I don't know whether we're spoiled a couple of years ago with the attacking football.
You reckon?
But it does, and obviously the 0-0 record, the narrative's always there. A couple of really drab ones against like Derby and Stoke, so I think they do just stick with you. And you don't know how much of this overperformance is in the games where we've spanked Plymouth 5-0 and Cardiff 5-0 and Luton earlier in the season. Well, but both games against Luton. But I think what you can see from the stats and with your own eyes is that we're in a really good spot at the moment, and hopefully we can keep that going in what's a really busy period. And obviously you've seen in the Championship this year and in previous years, it can take you by surprise. And I think a few of us thought Leeds were done and dusted a few weeks ago, and now you'd say they're the ones faltering. Things can change very quickly. But I think there's not much between all three of us. So whoever does miss out, it's going to be really, really tough for.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Dave, let's go ahead then. Enough of Brentford. That's done and dusted. We're on with that. Let's look ahead to this weekend because we've got back-to-back another playoff hopeful, this time
Bristol City.
What did I call them? Please don't tell me I just
You
said
said Brentford again.
Oh my God. What is wrong with me? Do you know what? I was absolutely adamant that I was going to come on to this week's podcast and be professional and polished and basically book the trend of every single None and Never podcast that we ever have in terms of actually getting things right. And we are, how many minutes are we in? Where's my 15 minutes in? Actually, that's not bad for me, Dave. 15 minutes. I'm getting better. Bristol City is done and dusted, listeners. We are looking ahead to Coventry this weekend. It is an away game and it is another playoff hopeful. This time it is Frank Lampard's Coventry. A team very much in form at the moment and one who were perhaps unexpectedly finding themselves in the sprint finish to get through those playoffs and will fancy themselves if they do manage to cement that place as one of the playoff hopefuls. Dave, do you want to kick us off then, please, with a couple of key stats ahead of that game?
Yeah, I can do. Before I do that, actually, it's worthwhile mentioning that they were teammates, weren't they? Scott Parker and Frank Lampard were teammates at Chelsea around about 20 years ago, 2004-5 season. So the bit of a reunion there, and obviously England teammates as well. But the stats I prepared for you for this week, Burnley's first 18 visits to face Coventry City were at their old ground, Highfield Road. They were between 1937 and 2005. And we've also faced this weekend's opponents at their new home, the City of Coventry Stadium, under the guise of a couple of different sponsors, on 7 occasions over the last 20 years, winning 4 of those games and losing 3. In fact, there hasn't been a drawn game in any of our last 15 visits to Coventry in all competitions, a sequence which stretches all the way back to 1975, so that's 50 years. During that time, Burnley have again had the upper hand with 10 away victories and just 5 away defeats.
Excellent. It's impressive record. Adam, coming into this game this weekend, Coventry sit 5th in the table, 59 points. I mean, goodness me, the race to that playoffs is looking absolutely insane. I think probably Watford in 9th are out of it now. I think it's 3 from Sunderland, Coventry, West Brom, Middlesbrough and Bristol City. Coventry just got the edge at the moment with 59 points. Sunderland have pretty much cemented their playoff place now with 72. In a ridiculous run of form at the moment under Lampard. I think Lampard's had a funny managerial career, hasn't he? Because he's had some successes and he's had some failures. And his reputation fair in the market that he's getting these jobs based on his player reputation and his name in the market? Or do you think there's some substance behind that style?
It's a tricky one because there's obviously got Derby to the playoff final, but obviously threw a lot of money at that, and they probably saw some after effects of that for the next couple of years, missing out. And then you can't, like his job at Chelsea, the first year you were there, I think got them into top 4 to the FA Cup final, and didn't have anywhere under a transfer embargo at the time. Promoted a lot of the youth players. Obviously knows the club inside out, so that'll have helped. And then obviously Everton kept them up at our expense, really. That the first year we were there, and then it went a bit sour, and here we are today. It's like you said, it's kind of he's had a few nearly moments that's probably kept him in the hunt for these jobs just because of how brilliant of a player he was. It comes across. Yeah. I think he always comes across quite well in interviews, and he's got a lot of friends and links in the game. So until something goes disastrously wrong, maybe a couple of times in a row, like you Wayne Rooney, then I think he will get a job, and you can't argue at all with his impact at Coventry. He seems to have a positive impact when he does go into clubs, and I don't think anyone really saw them challenging for the players when he did go in. And I think without since he has been in, I think they'd be up there points wise with us with the top 3. I think they've only lost to Leeds, Sheffield United, and Derby.
Exactly. I'm just looking at the form guide now. Out of their last 10 games, they've won 7 and lost 3. Like I say, it's only Leeds, Derby, and Sheffield that they've lost to. It's like Sheffield United, sorry, that they've lost to. That's alarmingly impressive. I guess from that perspective, Adam, should we be concerned going into this weekend?
Yeah, I think their only home defeat is against Leeds as well. I think the positive that we've got, or the way that you can look at it, is obviously we've got to look after ourselves. We've been brilliant. But when they have come up against the 2 other sides that we're competing with, that we're on a level with, they've not turned up at all. The home game against Leeds, they could have lost 4-5-0. And then last Friday, they were blown away by Sheffield United in the first half. And that's the best Sheffield United have looked against anyone for quite a long time. So I think we've got to back ourselves, back our ability, that we can be good enough to go there and get the 3 points. But yeah, given the results against everyone else, if we're not at it, then it's going to be a tough early afternoon.
Yeah, I agree. Dave, thinking about those games, what have you picked for our Nona Never Remembers memory match this week?
Well, I was looking actually. We could have gone with an alternative one in the match day program this season. They're called Classic Clash. So you pick and choose whatever you want.
Clash. It's memory match, and it's always going to be a memory match. Carry on, sir. Carry on.
It's No Name Never Remembers. I'm in charge. Right.
Whoa. Just hang your horses a minute. You're in charge. When did I get ousted as the host?
You said it was my preview show. It's in the contract.
Okay. That's fair, but... Okay, carry on.
Okay. With 4 wins to date from 7 visits to the City of Coventry Stadium, we have plenty of choice for this week's featured match. The 1-0 win from our last promotion season is still fresh in the memory, so I've decided to focus on one of the other 3 away wins at the ground instead. The match we've chosen was somewhat of a second-half comeback from the 2008-2009 season and took place in October 2008. The home took the lead 5 minutes before half-time when Graham Alexander was adjudged to have fouled Michael Mifsud. Elliot Ward powered home the resulting spot kick past Brian Jensen in the Burnley goal. Our equaliser came from an unlikely source just 7 minutes after the break. Wade Elliott's corner was flicked on by Stephen Caldwell to Michael Duff, who took a touch, then powered a left-footed shot into the roof of the net. It began to look increasingly like a point apiece until the 2 minutes from the end. After good work in the build-up from Wade Elliott, 2 substitutes combined as Chris Eagle's threaded pass set up Robbie Blake to put the finishing touch to the move with an angle shot before displaying his Bad Beat Bob pants for his goal celebration, the debut of the Bad Beat Bob pants. And there's still time for Blake to repay the favour and set up Eagles to make it 3. Sublime curling shot from just outside the box. So it finished Coventry City 1, Burnley 3, and with a note to Robbie Blake's goal celebration, the headline for the match report in the Burnley Express was Robbie holds all the aces.
Robbie holds all the aces. I'm trying to see if I've got a picture. I think I do have a picture here. There we are. Look at that. Look at that. See if I can get that in a better place. There we are. Bad Beat Bobs. So you can tell me, those of us who are just watching this on our YouTube, you can see I haven't quite figured out how to use StreamYard yet. I was like, how do I get that over here? There you go. Bad Beat Bobs. It feels like a bit of a lifetime ago, does that? Where we were like that Wembley playoff final and the start of our Premier League adventure and those underpants. It does feel like a bit of a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then he didn't...
God, sorry, Dave.
He didn't display him, did he? When he scored against Man United, he decided it was too early in the game to do it.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. There you go. Anyway, sorry, Dave. I've lost. I got myself all excited. Yes, Robbie holds the aces. Yes, so we are still on. We're still on stats. I got all of a fluster with underpants making their appearance on the podcast. I believe you've got a couple more stats. Bring us a bit more up to date with this week's game, please, Dave.
I thought you were going to explain the poker terminology for us first.
Would you like me to? Is that something you would like to?
Yes, it would.
Essentially, a bad beat is where you have got essentially unlucky in a game of poker. So I think probably the worst bad beat you can, well, let's say, for example, you have got a set. So you've got 3 8s. You've got pocket 8s in your hand. There's an 8 on the board, and it's something like King Jack 2 3. What can I say? 10 maybe, or like sort of 9 maybe, something that doesn't bring in an obvious card run out. And you turn over your hand thinking you've won, and somebody's got a pair of 10s in their hand with a 10 on the board. So it's a bigger set of 10s is bigger than a set of aces. That's a bad beat. Probably the worst one that you can ever had. You've got 2 players who are both holding pocket aces in their hands, the best hand in Texas Hold'em poker, and the board runs out and it brings 4 of one suit onto the board. So the person who has the ace of that suit in their hand beats the other one. So you've got pocket aces, you expect to win a significant amount of the time. And it's called a bad beat. And I think the analogy back then was that Robbie Blake was deemed to be himself quite an unlucky poker player and nicknamed himself Bad Beat Bob. So there you go.
It was Clark Carlisle who gave him the idea.
Was that who it was?
Yeah,
there you go. I'd love to play Robbie Blake at poker. I might message him. If Robbie Blake, if you listen to this podcast, get in touch. Come and play poker with me. I would love to sit down and play some poker with you. Spoiler alert, that's probably not going to happen. Anyway, please do carry on, Dave.
In terms of our extra stats we've got, of the 28 players to represent Burnley and Coventry City in the Football League through the history of the two clubs, only one has chalked up more than 50 league appearances for the Clarets and the Sky Blues. That's former Coventry City legend and former Burnley captain from the mid-1980s, Tommy Hutchison. Hutch made more than 300 appearances for Coventry between 1972 and 1981 and was also their player of the season on 3 occasions. After a spell at Manchester City, he played a total of 114 times for Burnley, 92 in the league, between 1983 and 1985. And there was some suggestion in the summer of 1985 that he may take over as Burnley manager. But instead, at almost 38 years of age, he left Burnley to join Swansea City and remarkably went on to play 6 more seasons with the Swans, making another 178 league appearances for them between 1985 and 1991. Astonishingly, he even continued to play non-league football with Merthyr Tydfil until he was 46. Coventry City have set aside Saturday's fixture as their Legends Day in conjunction with their former Players Association, and Tommy Hutchison will be one of around 40 of their former players at the match this weekend, and a few ex-Clarets will be there as well, including Barry Powell, Dele Adebola and Danny Fox. They're among those who will be there.
Danny Fox. Yeah. Judas. He was in that group of people who scurried off when the grass was greener, and the grass is not always greener. Thanks for those, Dave. Okay, Adam, bringing you back into the fold now. At this stage, we normally speak to our opposition fans, and apologies, listeners, we could not get a Coventry fan for love and money this week on the show. They were all very busy. It seems that Coventry fans are very into their content, and they find themselves very, very busy. So we couldn't get anybody free, I'm afraid. On the assumption, Adam, that I'm going to say you're probably not an expert on Coventry's likely setup and how they will approach the game. Let's turn this around on its head. How do you expect us to approach the game at the weekend? Because particularly as the Clarets have, in many times this season, been stronger away from home than they have at Turf Moor.
Yeah, I think Sheffield United have actually managed to go ahead us in the away table, which we need to sort out. But yeah, I think it'll be the same. I can't see how we'd change from last weekend. Everything seems to be clicking. I think we've managed to play an informed Bristol City team and dominate the game, and we're probably wanting to go and do the same down there. We might have to manage. They'll probably have a reaction from the poor performance last week. I'm sure they'll be well G'd up for it, and the crowd will be right behind them. But if we can weather that first 10-20 minutes, then I don't see how or why we'd need to make any changes from what we've done last week and for the last few weeks. That's personnel wise and tactically.
You're still going with Josh Loren in the middle?
Yeah, I think he's improved a lot in the last few games as well. I think the games where he really struggled were when we were playing against the top sides. I think the 2 games against Sheffield United and Leeds at home, Sunderland and Leeds at home earlier this season. I think he struggled to get into the game, but he really does give us that drive forward, and I think he's been very good the last few weeks. So even though Hannibal at points in the season has been very good, I don't see how he'd come back into the team for this game. I think the one game he did start was did he start against West Brom? I can't remember now, but I'm not sure actually. But basically, yeah, I wouldn't be changing.
I can't remember.
Josh Law's been very good. Yeah.
Don't ask me who started in a game. My memory's not good, but yeah, no, I do agree. And what about our number 9? Do we go Fleming or Foster? Stick with Fleming.
It's Fleming for me. The people in the No Nay Never chat are very split on this, but I think when you've got Fleming, who played well last weekend, has scored 9, 10, 11 goals, and I think it's 9 league goals this season, compared to Foster, who's only got 2 and probably less than 9 over his 2.5 years at Burnley. I think even though he's probably more natural in that position, for me it's Fleming all day.
I still think it's a massive shame that we've ended up having to use Fleming as a makeshift number 9 this season. It's like everybody tells us it's not his position. Everybody tells us that he's a really good number 10 and how good he is in that position. And we've had him stuck as a number 9 all season, predominantly just because we've not been able to get. Sorry, I'm just trying to do 2 things at once here, listeners. Predominantly just because we can't get Lyle Foster fit, and we've not been able to get both of them on the pitch. But he's done all right. But for me, next season, if that's in the Championship or wherever we are, we have to concentrate on getting him as a number 10. We really do. Okay. What was I going to say then? I was going to say stats, please, Dave. What is our key stats, please, ahead of the weekend?
I was just going to sneak an extra one in. We're talking about away performances. Burnley have already got 11 away wins this season, which other than 2022-23, and we got 13, that's a joint second in terms of the clubs overall. And obviously we've got 4 away games left to play, so there's still an opportunity to match or even possibly beat the 13 we had from 2022-23. It's been worth bearing in mind going into the Coventry match. But in terms of the overall performance, as well as winning exactly half of the away league games we've played against Coventry City, we've also managed 2 wins out of 3 in away cup games. So our overall past away record in this fixture stands at played 25. We've had 13 wins. We won more than half. We've drawn 3 and lost 9. And in terms of goals scored, it's 30 to Burnley and 31 to Coventry City.
Excellent. Well, listeners, we teased you with this a little bit earlier on. For those of you who are interested and keen on hearing more about Dave's impressive stats, he does maintain a comprehensive collection of stats and facts on the internet. And those of you who are watching this via our YouTube channel can see a graphic on screen that shows you exactly where you need to go, along with a QR code, which is just there for ease, because we are here to serve you, listeners, to make your life easier. Dave, for those of us who are listening via their podcast provider, can you please let them know how they find your stats page, please?
The menu page we've got has a quick link. So if you just navigate to bit.ly / and then it's all in uppercase, Burnley Stats QL. Bit.ly Burnley Stats QL. That takes the menu page, and then there's all sorts of different avenues you can go down depending on what you're interested in.
Excellent. This I love. Okay, Adam, key crunched. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Do we want to do the ref? What should we do first, Dave? I'll let you be the decider. Shall we do the referee first, or shall we do score predictions? You decide.
Referee first, since it's before that in the script.
Go ahead.
Okay. James Bell of Pontefract has taken charge of 3 previous Burnley matches, all of which have ended in victory for the Clarets. He was the referee for our emphatic 5-1 away win. That was at Wigan Athletic in August 2022, you may remember. And this season he was in charge for our 1-0 away win at Ellen Road against Leeds United in September, as well as for our 1-0 home win over Oxford United in early February. The only red card he's shown in his 3 previous Burnley matches was to Bashir Humphreys in stoppage time at the end of the Leeds game. And in addition to the 8 Burnley players who've seen yellow, Just 6 of our opponents have been booked, so we're slightly ahead on that one. But we're hoping with 3 wins in 3 previous games, we can make it 4 out of 4 on Saturday.
We certainly are. Well, Adam, let's finish this off, please, with the most important bit of the preview show. Score prediction, please. How do you think it's going to go?
I think I think we'll have too much for Coventry on the day. So I'm going to go for a win. I think it'd be silly not to with the run that we're on, even though I've come on the preview show to curse it. So I'm going for 2-0, Fleming and Brownhill.
Excellent. I love this. This is why I love having you on the preview show. Dave, don't you dare predict a draw. Come on. What's your prediction, please?
No,
take heed from Adam. Look how positive he is.
I'm not predicting a draw, but I think it might be tight. I'm going for a 1-0 Burnley win.
That's all right. As long as you're going for a win, that's all I care. I'm going to sit. Whose camp am I going to sit in? I'm going to sit in Adam's camp. I think we're going to be too much for them. I'm going to predict 3-0 to Burnley. Listeners, you know the drill by now. It's that point of the podcast. We want you to send us your score predictions, please, and some likely scorers. How do you think this is going to play on Saturday? If you're listening to this on our YouTube channel, please put a comment in the comment section below. And while you're there, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss an episode of your favourite Burnley podcast. Those of you listening via our podcast channels, you can drop us a line on any of our social media channels. Just look for @NoneAndEver and you will find us. Okay, let's wrap that up then. Any other business? Do you know what? We should have some any other business. Adam Dennett, considering that you've been lazy this season and skived loads, I'm going to put you on the spot, please. Can you give us an FPL update? Because listeners will have probably forgotten that every single season, the None and Ever runs an FPL league that is supposed to have Manager of the Month awards. It does have a trophy at the end of it. And we've not given our listeners any updates this season. Come on, man. What's going on?
No, I think, I've been a bit busy, but I've also been doing very rubbish on FPL. I only give these updates.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
I'm even losing to Richard Steele this season at the moment, so I need to sort that out.
I started this last year by kicking your backside too many times last year. This is what it is. We're just we're sulking out. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Well,
I do have an update though. It's entering the crunch time of the FPL season. The double game weeks and blank game weeks have been announced today. So we're in game week 31 now, and then in game week 32, Newcastle and Crystal Palace have a double game week. After Newcastle got to the League Cup final, and then in game week 33, because of the FA Cup semi-finals, Arsenal, Man City, Aston Villa, and Crystal Palace all have double game weeks. But then followed by the week after game week 34, those 4 teams then have a blank game week. So it's in terms of chip strategy, you're probably wanting to, if you've still got your wild card, play that this week. Get your players in from Newcastle and Crystal Palace. Palace who have 2 double game weeks in a row, and obviously City and Arsenal as well, and to a lesser extent Villa. And then the time to then play your free hit chip, if you've got that, would be in game week 34, when those teams that you've brought your players in for will blank. The good thing about getting those players into your team permanently is that some of them may double later on in the season because of the FA Cup final. Obviously, people will be have different chips available to them, but that's an ideal scenario of what you'd want to do between now and the end of the season. And then just a quick table update, because like I said, I've not really given any of those, but there's some familiar names in there. In 10th place, last year's champion, Tall Paul, is on 2019 points. 9th, Jacob Sapwell, 2022 points. 8th, Dan Brown, 2023 points. 7th, Aaron Flanagan, 2032 points. 6th, Lewis Hillman, 2034 points. 5th, Lee Bridge on 2038 points. 4th, Dermot Kinlin Martin on 2039 points. 3rd, Andy Bick, 2045 points. 2nd, Bennett Howarth, 2050 points, and 56 points clear at the top. Looking very good so
It's
far.
Napoli. Is it Natalie?
Not this year. Maybe next year.
I was just going to say that. I was just looking. I was like, why has my name not been read out yet? And apparently, I'm a little bit further down than 10th.
Top of the tree, James Hale, who's having a wonder season and is in the top 3,000 players out of over 11 million so far, and is on 2,106 points. So if he holds his nerve in the running, I think we might have a new champion this year.
This is amazing. I love this. Have we got are we connected with him on social media? Do we know how to get hold of him?
I have no idea, but if he wants to come on and speak to us about his plans for the rest of the season, how he's got to this point, then
Adam, your professionalism as FPL expert and manager on this podcast this week is nothing short of spectacular. You've honestly humbled me this episode. I have no idea. Excellent. Well done you. No, but seriously, thank you very much. That's a really great update. And we will do a little bit of a push towards the end of the season, get some excitement going, and I'm going to kick young Adam and make sure he does it. I've got a whole bunch of stickers here that I've not given out all season.
Richard Steele won one. He won one in December. He won the
Richard Steele doesn't count. He's not allowed a sticker.
But I think we can post the monthly winners just so you know who you can send your stickers to.
That would be great.
I'll send the list to Matt and you Can put that on the No Name Never Twitter.
Excellent. We'll send some stickers out. That would be very good. At least we feel like we've done something this season. No, but seriously, thank you, Adam. I do love the No Name Never League, but I do get a little bit less excited when Burnley aren't in the Premier League. It's just not the same.
It makes a difference.
It makes a difference, and mainly because I don't watch as much Premier League when we're not in it. The Premier League as a product can be a challenging league to watch, particularly when you're not involved in it. There's some repetition in there, and it doesn't necessarily have the same sense of jeopardy as they say the Championship does. So when Burnley aren't in it, my FPL performance tends to dip down as well. But you know what? Next season we'll be back in the big time, and we'll have Burnley players again in the team, and I can start being really bad at FPL again because I fill my team with Burnley players and not who I should actually put in there. So there you go. Excellent. Anything from you, Dave, before we wrap up?
No, nothing to add. Nothing to add from me.
Nothing to add at all. Okay, so listeners, that is all we've got time for this week's preview show. My thanks to Dave, the best of you in football, Statman Roberts. Your title's now getting too long, Dave. Dave, the best of you in football, Statman Roberts, for collating all of those stats and facts today, for our wonderful FPL expert, Adam, for coming in and sharing his wisdom against there, and for you, the listeners, for downloading and listening to his podcast. Your support is very much appreciated as ever, and we would not be here without you. Please keep an eye on social media over the next few weeks. I have no idea when we're going to get preview show and analysis shows out there because there's all sorts going on. So we will do our very best to get as much content out for you in the run up to the end of the season as we can. We will try and make that regular, and we'll try and give you notifications. It is more important than ever that you subscribe to our channels and you turn on your notifications so that you will not miss an episode. Thanks to you all again. Please, Godspeed to anybody who's travelling to Coventry at the weekend. Thank you for your travelling support and bring back those 3 points. I've been Natalie Bromley. This has been the preview show brought to you by the No Name Never podcast. Until next time. The No Name Never podcast is brought to you in association with the talkSPORT Fan Network. Our host and editor is Natalie Bromley, and the show is produced by Matt Moss. Our resident statistician is Dave Roberts, and our FPL expert is Adam Dennett. The Analysis Show team is collectively Tom Whittaker, Rich Steele, George Poole, Charlotte Rigby and Adam Dennett. Our music is provided by George Gaskell, and our newsletter team is headed up by Jamie Smith. If you don't already, you can subscribe to our newsletter by visiting nonamenever.substack.com. Thanks as ever go to our partners talkSPORT. We are proud to be associated with the talkSPORT Fan Network.